You know that Boston has only only one regulation loss on the season, with 2 other overtime and shootout losses. They've only been beaten once in regulation. And you know why? Their offense is scarier than a 7-foot tall in a pink rabbit costume. In 4 games, this Boston offense has outscored opponents with a margin of 13 goals. 20 goals scored, 7 given up. They've been out shooting teams. 140 shots for Boston, 104 for opposing teams. That is a plus 36 margin. The only time they tied was against Ottawa. They got outshot by only 2 against the St. Louis Blues, and they decimated the San Jose Sharks in shots. This power play alone, it is a league-leading 32.6% on the power play, being led by the top two out of the top 3 players in points for the season. Brad Marchand, 3rd in the league in points with 23, 8 goals, that's tied for 11th, 15 assists, that's tied for 3rd, 2 goals on the power play, 6 even strength goals. That's just absurd, but it gets even more absurd. Let's talk about David Pastrnak. David Pastrnak, 27 points. He leads the league. 13 goals. He's tied for 1st there. 14 assists. He's tied for 5th there. 8 goals on the power play. Tied for 1st there. 5 even strength goals. I don't know where that ranks. I didn't look that aspect up. But this Boston Bruins team so far on a tear. 9-game point streak. 5 straight wins. Unbelievable point tear for this team. Now, apart from having a beyond fantastic offense, this team is getting incredible defense and arguably the best goaltender currently in the league in 2Us, 2Ks, Tuukka Rask, yet to be beaten in regulation this entire season. His only loss in a shootout to Tampa Bay. 7 wins, no losses, and like I said, 1 shootout loss. He is currently lights out on coming on a Stanley Cup revenge tour. Let's take a look. Let's go deep dive into this right now. He is 1st in the league in goals against average, a 1.49. 1st in the league in save percentage with a .949. Tied for 1st in the league in shootouts with 2. And he's tied for 2nd in wins. And the wins could be higher considering that he's only played in 8 games. Jaro Halak has played in 5. I mean, there's literally very little concerns I have about this team right now. Like, they're firing on all cylinders. And I guess the only concern I have is, when is this momentum going to stop? And, because it's going to stop. You can't be on this tear, this pace, for an entire season. It's just physically impossible in an 86-game regular season. Or an 82, I think 86, 82, somewhere in that ballpark. You just can't continue this pace. But, while you have this tear going, bank those points, baby. It's money in the bank. And it will help build you to a playoff spot. Like I said in the 2nd episode, you can't necessarily win a season in September, but you can lose it. And just banking points early and just gaining points early, there's nothing wrong with that. So let's take a quick look at the week ahead coming up on the schedule. It's a back-to-back, the 2nd back-to-back of the season for the Boston Bruins, as they are home against the Pittsburgh Penguins, the 3-time Stanley Cup champions, including players like Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin. Don't know what's going on with that whole controversy. That's a whole thing in its own separate right. Matt Murray, a mediocre goaltender at best. A team that's made the playoffs a lot, but they're beatable. Easily beatable as the Pittsburgh Penguins, and you've beaten them in the past. And then from playing Pittsburgh, you have to travel on the road the next night to Montreal because, of course, it's the next night at Montreal. That's just how it always works, or it always feels like it works. Montreal in the season, they're 7-5-2, being led by their goaltender, you all know and love, Carey Price, Claude Julien on the bench, a team that I think was maybe 1-2 points from making the playoffs last year. So both of these two teams on the back-to-back, really good teams, but of course you have really good goaltending. And then you finish off the week, I believe Thursday night or Friday night at Detroit. Detroit is a lowly 4-10-1. They're in the midst of a massive rebuild, as they've been for the past maybe year and a half or so. So, how do the goaltenders line up? Well, I assumed, before I did a little extra research, that, have Rask start against Pittsburgh, have Yarrow go against Montreal in Montreal, because the kind of thing about Tuukka Rask has always been he's not good against Montreal. But as I took a little bit extra research, I believe it is hockeyreference.com. I might put that link in the description to Rask's career splits. Rask has played 32 games against the Montreal Canadiens. He is 11-16-4. He's given up 74 goals in those 32 games. So that's a 2.40 goals against average with a 0.916 save percentage. The website I was using for these numbers wasn't able to differentiate Tuukka Rask at Montreal versus Tuukka Rask at home against Montreal. But it feels like statistically, or not statistically, but at least like emotionally, Tuukka Rask has not been good against Montreal. He's slightly better, at least results-wise, against the Pittsburgh Penguins. In 19 games against Pittsburgh, he is 10-6-3, with a marginally worse goals against average at 2.58, and a marginally better save percentage at a .917 against the Penguins. So again, as I said, I still think Tuukka Rask at home, Yarrow at Montreal, and hell, I would even say Yarrow at Detroit. Give Rask an additional night off. Why not? So with all that being said, let's take it real quick to the 3 stars of the week. Star number 3, and this is a shocker because I thought he was going to be higher. It's Brad Marchand, 2 goals, 7 assists, 9 points in 4 games. 1 point better is star number 2, and that's David Pastrnak. 3 goals, 7 assists for 10 points in 4 games. Star number 1, 3 games out of 4 he played in. These are just absurd freaking numbers. 1 shutout, a .960 save percent, and a 1 goal against average, 2 U's, 2 K's, so many games with 2 points. Tuukka Rask. I mean, we saw that in the deep dive. He is arguably, if not statistically, the best goaltender currently in the league. Bar none. So before I sign off, I do want to congratulate Boston on one other thing. As they always do around the Halloween time, a handful of Boston Bruin players go to Children's Hospital in costume. This year they came as Toy Story. It was wonderful. And they just go and they, visit terminally ill, or, not terminally, but ill kids, sick kids. And it's just a really good thing that they do for the community, which means also pretty soon, now that we're in November and very, very soon December, that means that it's going to be the Boston Bruins toy drive for those same kids, where they go to a Target, and it's a whole big fun and big production. So yeah, I hope you guys had a great Halloween. I hope you guys have enjoyed this special Sunday edition of the Bruins Recap Show. I think going forward we might continue with the Sunday episodes, just because Thursdays might be a little bit booked going forward. But yeah, So that's all I got. It's all positive. I'm sorry. There's nothing to be negative about this team at the moment. Could all change in a week. Hopefully it doesn't. We'll see you next time on the next Bruins Recap Show.